Captain Dong Ho Kim stood on the bridge of the Terra's Pride, watching the stars drift past the main window. The research ship had been traveling through empty space for 3 weeks now, looking for new planets and checking on old friends across the galaxy. It was quiet work, but Dong Ho liked it that way. No fighting, no politics, just exploration and discovery. "Captain, we're getting close to the Kalari system," said Soo-Jin Park from her seat at the navigation controls. She was young but smart, and Dong Ho trusted her completely. "Should we send them a message to let them know we're coming?" "Yes, do that," Dong Ho replied. "The Kalari are always happy to see us. They might have some new medical information to share." The Kalari were good friends to humanity. They lived on a world with light gravity and thick air, and they looked like tall, thin people with see-through skin. They were peaceful and never fought wars, but they were very good at healing and growing things. They had helped humans learn how to grow better crops and cure diseases. Wu Bin Li sat at the communication station, his fingers moving quickly over the controls. He was the best at talking to other species that Dong Ho had ever seen. He could speak 12 different alien languages and always knew the right thing to say. "Captain, I'm picking up something strange," Wu Bin said, frowning at his screen. "It's not coming from the Kalari system. It's an emergency signal, but it's very weak and broken up." Dong Ho walked over to Wu Bin's station. "Put it on the speakers. Let's hear what we've got." The bridge filled with static and noise. Through the crackling sounds, they could hear a voice speaking in broken Standard Galactic, the common language used by most species. The words came in pieces: human, children, cages, help us, please. Everyone on the bridge went very still. Dong Ho felt his stomach drop. Any message about human children in trouble was serious business. "Where is that coming from?" he asked. Wu Bin worked at his controls. It's coming from the Kalari homeworld, Captain. But that doesn't make sense. The Kalari don't usually send emergency signals, and they definitely don't have human children. "Get Dr. Hai Wan up here right now," Dong Ho ordered. "And keep working on that signal. I want to know exactly what they're saying." Dr. Hai Wan Choi was the ship's chief medical officer, but she was also very good with technology. She had special equipment in her brain that helped her work with computers and communication systems. If anyone could clean up that signal, it was her. She arrived on the bridge within minutes, still wearing her white medical coat. "What do you need, Captain?" "We've got a broken emergency signal coming from the Kalari homeworld. It mentions human children." "Can you clean it up?" Haiwan's face went serious. She plugged a cable from her medical kit into the communication system and closed her eyes. Her special brain equipment let her connect directly with the ship's computers. "I'm getting more of the message now," she said after a few minutes. "It's definitely from the Kalari, and they're very scared. They keep saying something about harvester ships and human colony children being taken. They're asking for help." "Harvester ships?" Soo-Jin asked. "That sounds like slavers." Dong Ho felt anger building in his chest. Slavers were the worst kind of criminals in the galaxy. They would attack peaceful planets and take people to sell in illegal markets. If slavers had taken human children, this was very serious. "Keep working on that message," he told Haiwan. "I want to know everything they said." He walked to his captain's chair and pressed the button for ship-wide communications. "All crew, this is the captain. We have received a distress signal involving human children. We are changing course immediately for the Kalari homeworld. All departments should prepare for emergency operations." Haiwan opened her eyes. "I've got more of the message, Captain. The Kalari are saying that harvester ships attacked a human colony and took the children. They brought the children to the Kalari homeworld and are forcing the Kalari to keep them there. The Kalari can't fight back because they don't have weapons, but they're trying to take care of the children. They're asking for human help because the children are getting sick." The bridge went quiet. Everyone knew what this meant. Somewhere out there, human children had been taken from their homes and were being kept like animals by criminals. Soo-Jin, set course for the Kalari homeworld. Maximum speed, Dong Ho ordered. Wu Bin, send an emergency message to Earth Command. Tell them we have confirmed reports of human children being held by hostile forces. Request immediate military support. Yes, sir, both officers replied. Captain, Hewan said quietly. There's more to the message. The Kalari say the harvester ships are coming back soon to collect the children. They're going to take them to the core worlds to sell them. Dong Ho closed his eyes and took a deep breath. He had children of his own back on Earth. The thought of any human child being sold like property made him feel sick and angry at the same time. How long do we have? He asked. The message is old and broken, but I think they said 4 days. Hewan replied. 4 days. Not much time to save a group of children from the worst fate anyone could imagine. Wubin, when you send that message to Earth Command, make sure you use priority alpha codes. This is a threat to human civilians and children at that. They need to know this is not a normal situation. Already on it, Captain, Wubin said. His fingers were flying over his controls as he sent the emergency message across space to Earth. Sir, Sujin said from her navigation station. At maximum speed, we'll reach the Kalari system in 18 hours. Good. That gives us some time to plan. Dong Ho looked around at his crew. They were all good people. But they were scientists and explorers, not soldiers. If there were really hostile ships with the Kalari, they might not be able to do much fighting. Captain, Hayawan said, I should mention something. The Kalari message also said the children are sick. They don't know how to take care of human children properly, and some of them are getting worse. That made everything more urgent. Not only were the children prisoners, but they might be dying. Dr. Choi, start preparing medical supplies for human children. Everything you can think of. We don't know what condition they'll be in when we find them. Yes, sir. The next few hours passed slowly. The Terra's Pride rushed through space toward the Kalari system, while the crew prepared for whatever they might find. Dong Ho kept thinking about the children. Were they scared? Did they know that help was coming? Were their parents still alive? Finally, Wubin got a response from Earth Command. Captain, message from Earth Command. They're sending ships, but the nearest military fleet is still 3 days away. 3 days. The harvester ships would be back in 4 days, which meant Earth's military would only have 1 day to act. That was not much time at all. Keep monitoring for more messages, Dong Ho ordered, and start scanning for any other ships in the area. Maybe we're not the only ones who heard that distress call. As the Terra's Pride continued its race through space, Dong Ho wondered if they would be in time to save the children. He had never felt so helpless in his life, but he also knew that nothing would stop him from trying to help them. The Kalari were good friends to humanity, but they were not fighters. If dangerous criminals were using their world to hold human children, the Kalari would need help from people who knew how to fight. Soon, they would find out just how serious this situation really was. The Terra's Pride dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Kalari system. Captain Dong Ho Kim stood on the bridge looking at the main screen as it showed the peaceful blue-green world ahead of them. It looked the same as always, but he knew something terrible was happening down there. Captain, we're getting a message from the planet, Wu Bin Lee said from his station. It's Elder Veltar, the Kalari leader. Put him on screen, Dong Ho replied. The main screen changed to show a tall, thin alien with pale, almost clear skin. Elder Veltar had 4 large eyes and moved his hands in graceful gestures as he spoke. He looked very worried and tired. Captain Kim, thank the stars you received our message, Veltar said in careful standard galactic. Please, we need your help desperately. The situation is worse than we could explain in our emergency call. We're here to help, Elder Veltar, Dong Ho said. Tell me exactly what happened. The old Kalari's 4 eyes filled with sadness. 3 weeks ago, massive ships came to our system. They were unlike anything we had seen before, dark metal covered in spikes and weapons. They called themselves the Vorthak Collective. Dong Ho had heard that name before. The Vorthak were slavers from the center of the galaxy. They were cruel and violent, taking people from peaceful worlds to sell in their markets. The Vorthak did not attack us directly, Veltar continued. Instead, they told us they had attacked a human colony world called Nu. Busan. They had taken all the children from that world. Over 200 human younglings between the ages of 5 and 16. Sujin Park gasped from her navigation station. 200 children. It was worse than they had thought. The Vorthak brought the children here and demanded that we keep them safe while they prepared their slave markets in the core worlds. Veltar explained. They said if we refused, they would kill all the children immediately. We are a peaceful people, Captain Kim. We have no weapons, no way to fight such monsters. What choice did we have? Dong Ho understood. The Kalari had saved the children's lives by agreeing to help the Vorthak, even though it went against everything they believed in. Where are the children now? He asked. We have converted our cultural centers into holding areas. We are doing everything we can to care for them, but we do not understand human needs very well. Some of the younglings are becoming sick and we do not know how to help them. Dr. Haiwan Choi stepped forward. Elder Veltar, I am a human medical doctor. May I come down to examine the children? Yes, please, Veltar said quickly. And Navigator Park, would you also come? The children keep asking for adults from their own species. They are frightened and homesick. Of course, Sujin replied. An hour later, Sujin and Hyewan took a shuttle down to the Kalari homeworld. The planet was beautiful, with tall crystal cities and floating gardens in the thick atmosphere. But today the beauty felt wrong when they knew children were suffering. Here, Elder Veltar met them at the landing platform along with a smaller Kalari, who he introduced as Healer Marin. This is our best medical expert, Veltar explained. She has been trying to help the human children, but their bodies are very different from ours. They walked through the Crystal City to what had once been a place where the Kalari gathered to share stories and art. Now it was surrounded by energy barriers that glowed with a soft blue light. Inside the barriers, Sujin could see groups of human children sitting together on the floor. The sight made her heart break. The children ranged from tiny 5-year-olds to teenagers, all wearing dirty clothes and looking scared and tired. Many of them were too thin and some looked sick. We feed them 3 times a day and give them clean water, Healer Marin explained. But we do not know what human children need to stay healthy. Some of them will not eat our food. That's because human children need different nutrients than Kalari, Hyewan said gently. You've been doing your best, but human bodies work differently. As they approached the energy barriers, the children noticed them. A boy who looked about 12 years old stood up and walked over to the barrier. He had dark hair and serious eyes, and the other children seemed to look up to him. Are you here to take us home? The boy asked in a clear voice. Sujin knelt down so she was at his eye level, even with the barrier between them. What's your name? She asked. I'm Jiwoo, the boy replied. I'm from New Busan Colony. These are my friends Yunbi and Tai-min. He pointed to a younger girl and boy who were sitting nearby. The girl looked about 8, and the boy was maybe 10. Jiwoo, I'm Sujin, and this is Dr. Hyewan. We're from a human ship, and we're here to help you. My little sister Yunbi has been getting sicker every day, Jiwoo said, worry clear in his voice, and Tai-min can barely eat anything. The tall people with the clear skin are nice to us, but their food makes us feel bad. Hyewan immediately opened her medical scanner and began checking the children through the energy barrier. Elder Veltar, can you lower this barrier so I can properly examine them? Of course, Doctor. The blue energy barrier flickered off, and immediately several children ran to Sujin and Hyewan. They hugged them tightly, crying and asking questions all at once. Are our parents okay? When can we go home? Are the bad aliens coming back? Sujin felt tears in her eyes as she held the frightened children. These were not just numbers or statistics. They were real kids who had been torn away from their families and thrown into a nightmare. Hyewan worked quickly, scanning each child with her medical equipment. After examining about 20 children, she came back to where Sujin was talking with Jiwoo. The situation is serious, she said quietly to Sujin. Many of these children have nutritional problems because they can't properly digest Kalari food. Several have infections that need immediate treatment with human medicines, and some of the younger ones are showing signs of severe psychological trauma. What does that mean? Jiwoo asked. He had been listening carefully. Hyewan knelt down beside him. It means you and the other children have been very brave, but this scary situation has been hard on your minds and bodies. We're going to fix that. The bad aliens said they're coming back to take us away forever. A small girl named Yunbi said quietly. They said we're going to work for them and never see our families again. Sujin felt anger rise in her chest. No child should ever have to hear words like that. Elder Veltar, she called to the Kalari leader. How much time do we have before the Vorthak return? They said they would come back in 4 days, Veltar replied. That was yesterday, so 3 days remain. 3 days to figure out how to protect 200 children from one of the most dangerous criminal organizations in the galaxy. Dr. Choi, can you treat the children who are sick? Sujin asked. I can help them, but I need to get medical supplies from our ship. Some of these kids need medicines that we don't carry on a research vessel. Sujin activated her communication device. Captain Kim, we need immediate medical supplies sent down from the ship. We also need to contact any human ships in the area. These children need more help than we can provide alone. Understood, came Dongho's voice. I'm already working on getting more ships here. Jiwoo tugged on Sujin's sleeve. Miss Sujin, are the grown-ups really going to save us this time? Some of the little kids are losing hope. Sujin looked into the boy's serious eyes and made a promise she hoped she could keep. Jiwoo, I want you to tell all the children something very important. Human adults never ever give up on their children. Never. Even if you're not our own kids, you're still human children, and that means we will do anything to protect you. But the bad aliens have big ships and lots of weapons, Taemin said from nearby. Yes, they do, Sujin admitted, but they made one very big mistake. What mistake? Several children asked. Sujin stood up and looked around at all the young faces watching her. They took human children. And there is nothing in this entire galaxy more dangerous than angry human adults who are trying to protect their kids. Elder Veltar had been listening to this conversation. He approached Sujin and spoke quietly. Navigator Park, I have seen many species in my long life, but I have never seen any group respond to danger the way humans do. Is it true that your people will fight anyone to protect your young? It's not just true, Sujin replied. It's the most important truth about humanity. We can be peaceful and friendly, but if you threaten our children, we become something else entirely. As they prepared to return to the ship to get medical supplies, Jiwoo called out to them, Miss Sujin, Dr. Haiwan, please hurry back. The little ones get scared when no human adults are around. We'll be back very soon, Haiwan promised. And Jiwoo, thank you for taking care of the younger children. You've been very brave. As their shuttle lifted off from the Kalari world, Sujin and Haiwan both knew that the next 3 days would determine whether these children lived free lives or disappeared forever into the dark corners of the galaxy. But they also knew that the Vorthak had no idea what they had started when they decided to take human children. Captain Dong-ho Kim stood in his ready room aboard the Terra's Pride, staring at the message that had just arrived from Earth Command. The words on the screen made his heart race with both relief and worry. Priority Alpha response authorized. Fleet Admiral Min-Suk Jang departing Earth with 3rd Expeditionary Fleet. Deathworlder Protocol 7 in effect. Maintain position and protect civilians at all costs. ETA 72 hours. Dong-ho had served in the Earth Defense Forces for 15 years before becoming a research ship captain. He knew what Deathworlder Protocol 7 meant, and it scared him almost as much as it gave him hope. He pressed the communication button to call his senior officers to the ready room. Within minutes, Sujin Park, Woo-Bin Lee, and Dr. Haiwan Choi were sitting around his small table. Earth Command has responded, he said, showing them the message. Fleet Admiral Jang is coming with military ships. Thank goodness, Sujin said. Those children need more help than we can give them. What's Deathworlder Protocol 7? Woo-Bin asked. I've heard the term Deathworlder before, but I don't know what it means in military terms. Dr. Haiwan answered quietly. It means humanity stops playing nice. Most alien species think we're dangerous because we come from Earth, which they call a death world because of how harsh it is. Usually we try to be peaceful and diplomatic. But Protocol 7 means we've decided that being nice isn't working anymore. It's only used when human children are in immediate danger, Dong-ho added. When Protocol 7 is active, human military forces have permission to use any means necessary to protect civilians. Any means at all. Woo-Bin looked confused. That sounds like it could be scary for everyone. It is, Dong-ho said seriously. Other species in the galaxy are afraid of humans when we get angry. They call us Deathworlders because we come from a planet that tries to kill everything living on it. We evolved to survive things that would destroy most other species. When we fight to protect our children, we become something that even the worst criminals fear. Sujin had been quiet, but now she spoke up. Captain, I need to tell you something about the children. When I was down there, I saw how scared they were, but also how brave. There's a 12-year-old boy named Jiwoo who's been taking care of the younger kids. He asked me if the grown-ups were really going to save them this time. This time? Haiwan asked. I think he means that they were hoping for rescue when they were first taken from New Busan, Sujin explained. But no help came then, so now they're afraid it won't come again. Dong-ho felt anger burning in his chest. Those children had been waiting weeks for someone to save them, not knowing if anyone even knew they were missing. How many ships is Admiral Jang bringing? Woo-Bin asked. Dong-ho checked the detailed message that had come with the first one. The entire 3rd Expeditionary Fleet. That's 1 dreadnought, 4 heavy cruisers, 8 destroyers, 12 frigates, and 6 marine assault ships. Plus support vessels. The room went quiet. That was enough firepower to fight a small war. Sir, Sujin said carefully, is Earth Command expecting the Vorthak to put up a big fight? The Vorthak Collective isn't just a small criminal group. Dong Ho explained. They're one of the most powerful slaver organizations in the galaxy. They have hundreds of ships and have been taking people from peaceful worlds for decades. Usually nobody fights back because the cost is too high. But this time they took human children, he once said. Exactly. And that changes everything. Wu Bin's communication panel beeped with an incoming message. Captain, we're getting calls from other human ships in the area. Word is spreading fast. Put the messages on screen, Dong Ho ordered. The main display showed a list of ships that were changing course to come to the Kalari system. The cargo hauler New Seoul was 3 hours away with medical supplies. The passenger liner Harmony had diverted from its scheduled route and was coming with volunteer medical staff. A mining ship called Deep Digger was 12 hours out, and its captain had sent a simple message. We may not be military, but we're human. Those are our kids. How do they all know already? Sujin asked. Wu Bin checked his communication logs. Sir, I think our emergency message to Earth Command was heard by other ships. When humans hear that children are in danger, they don't wait for official orders. More messages kept coming in. Ship captains were volunteering to help, even though many of them had never been in a fight. Human colonies were preparing medical supplies and offering to take in rescued children. The response was growing larger by the hour. Captain, Haiwan said, I should get back down to the planet. Those children need medical care now, and I don't want them to be alone when they're scared. Take whatever supplies you need, Dong Ho replied. Sujin, go with her. The children trust you, and the Kalari could use help coordinating all these arriving ships. As his officers prepared to return to the planet, Dong Ho received a direct communication from Elder Veltar on the surface. Captain Kim, we are seeing many human ships arriving in our system. Are these ships here to help with the children? Yes, Elder Veltar. More are coming. The Kalari leader was quiet for a moment. Captain, I must ask you something. In our culture, when faced with a problem like this, we would try to negotiate. We would offer payment or tribute to make the criminals go away peacefully. But humans respond differently, don't they? Dong Ho thought about how to explain human nature to someone from a species that had never fought a war. Elder Veltar, most of the time, humans prefer peaceful solutions too. We like to talk and find ways for everyone to be happy. But there are some things that we will never negotiate about, such as our children. When someone threatens human children, we don't try to bargain or pay them off. We remove the threat completely. Even if the children are not your own offspring, it doesn't matter whose children they are. They're human, and they're young, and they're in danger. That's enough. Elder Veltar was quiet again. This is why other species call you Deathworlders, isn't it? Not because you are cruel, but because you become absolutely relentless when protecting your young. That's exactly right. Captain Kim, I want you to know that the Kalari understand why you must do what you're going to do. We cannot fight ourselves, but we will help you in any way we can. After ending the communication, Dong Ho walked to the bridge and looked out at the space around the Kalari system. Already he could see the lights of human ships arriving. Soon there would be many more. Sujin returned to the planet with Dr. Haiwan and a cargo shuttle full of medical supplies. When they arrived at the converted cultural center where the children were being held, they found Jiwoo waiting for them. Miss Sujin, Dr. Haiwan, some of the kids heard that more human ships are coming. Is it true? Yes, it's true, Sujin said, kneeling down beside him. Lots of human adults are coming to make sure you're all safe. How many? Asked Yunbi, Jiwoo's little sister. She was looking better after getting some of Dr. Haiwan's medicine. More than you can count, Haiwan replied with a smile. Taemin, who had been very quiet since they first met him, spoke up. Are they going to fight the bad aliens? Sujin and Haiwan looked at each other. How do you explain war to frightened children? The bad aliens made a very big mistake when they took you away from your families, Sujin said carefully. Human grown-ups don't let anyone hurt human children. Not ever. But what if the bad aliens are stronger? Jiwoo asked. Jiwoo, Sujin said seriously, there is something you need to understand about human adults. We might not be the biggest or the strongest species in the galaxy, but we're the most stubborn, especially when it comes to protecting kids. An older child, maybe 15 years old, had been listening from nearby. Are you saying the grown-ups will really come for us no matter how dangerous it is? I'm not just saying it, Sujin replied. I'm promising it. Every human adult out there would rather die fighting than let you kids be sold as slaves. The teenager started crying, but they were happy tears. We thought maybe everyone had forgotten about us. Nobody forgot, He-Wan said gently. The moment the first human adult learned you were missing, every human in the galaxy started working to bring you home. As they talked with the children, Elder Veltar approached Sujin quietly. Navigator Park. I have been thinking about what your captain told me. The Vorthak expect other species to be afraid of them and to give up when they show strength. But humans don't work that way, do they? Sujin shook her head. Elder Veltar, the Vorthak have been successful because they pick on species that can't fight back. They've never attacked the children of a species that considers protecting the young more important than staying alive. What happens when an unstoppable force meets an immovable object? The Kalari leader asked. Sujin looked around at all the human children who were finally starting to hope again. The immovable object wins, she said. Because we're not going anywhere and we're never giving up. The space around the Kalari homeworld filled with ships like metal storm clouds gathering before thunder. Captain Dong-Ho Kim watched from the bridge of the Terra's Pride as the 3rd Expeditionary Fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel in perfect formation. The flagship was massive. The dreadnought, indomitable, stretched over 2 kilometers long and bristled with weapons. Behind it came the heavy cruisers Defiance and Retribution, followed by destroyers and frigates in neat rows. But it wasn't just the size of the ships that made Dong-Ho feel better about the children's chances. It was knowing who commanded them. Fleet Admiral Min-Suk Jang was a legend in the Earth Defense Forces. He had fought in the Centauri border wars, where humans first showed the galaxy what they could do when properly angry. He was known for 2 things: brilliant military tactics and absolute refusal to let civilians get hurt on his watch. Captain Kim, this is Admiral Jang, came a voice over the communication system. Request permission to come aboard your ship for a briefing. Permission granted. Admiral, Dong-Ho replied. 20 minutes later, Admiral Jang stepped onto the Terra's Pride. He was a tall man with gray hair and eyes that looked like they had seen too much war. His uniform was perfectly neat, but his face showed the stress of traveling across the galaxy to save children he had never met. Captain, I need to know everything about the situation here, the Admiral said without wasting time on pleasantries. Dong-Ho led him to the briefing room where Sujin, Wu Bin, and He-Wan were waiting with detailed information about the children, the Kalari, and what they knew about the Vorthak. 212 children between ages 5 and 16, Dr. He-Wan reported, taken from New Busan Colony 3 weeks ago, currently being held in converted buildings on the Kalari homeworld. Some are sick, all are frightened, but they're alive. Vorthak fleet composition? The Admiral asked. Unknown exactly, Wu Bin replied. But the Kalari described 5 large harvester ships and escort vessels. They're expected to return tomorrow to collect the children. Admiral Jang studied the tactical display showing the Kalari system. Captain Kim, what's your assessment of Kalari capabilities? 0 military strength, Dong-Ho said. They're completely pacifist. No weapons, no defenses, no military training at all. They're helping the children because the Vorthak threatened to kill them if they refused. Good people caught in a bad situation. The Admiral nodded. And they reached out to us for help instead of trying to handle it themselves. That shows wisdom, Sujin spoke up. Admiral, I've spent time with the children. They're holding together well, but they're scared. There's a boy named Ji-Woo who's been taking care of the younger ones. He keeps asking if the grown-ups are really going to save them this time. The Admiral's expression grew hard. This time? What does he mean by that? I think he means they hoped for rescue when they were first taken, but no help came then. They're afraid we might leave them too. Admiral Jang was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke again, his voice carried the weight of absolute certainty. Those children will go home to human space, or every Vorthak ship in this system will be destroyed trying to stop us. There is no third option. He turned to the tactical display and began planning. The Vorthak are expecting to come back to an undefended world and collect their cargo. They've done this hundreds of times before with other species. They think they know how this works. But they don't know humans, Wu Bin said. Exactly. They've never attacked the children of a species that fights back. They're about to learn why most of the galaxy considers humans dangerous. The next day passed slowly. Admiral Jang deployed his fleet in a defensive formation around the Kalari world, but kept the ships far enough away that they wouldn't be immediately visible to arriving enemies. Meanwhile, human medical teams went down to the planet to take better care of the children. Dr. He-Wan had set up a proper medical station in the converted cultural center. The children were looking healthier after a day of human food and medicine, but they were still worried about what would happen when the bad aliens came back. Miss Haiwan, little Unbi asked, "Will the fighting be scary?" "You won't see any fighting," Hiwan promised. "We're going to keep you safe down here while the Navy takes care of the bad people." Jiwoo had been very quiet all day. Finally, he approached Sujin. "Miss Sujin, what happens if the bad aliens are too strong for our ships?" Sujin knelt down so she was at his eye level. "Jiwoo, do you know what humans call Earth?" "It's our home planet," the boy replied. "Yes, but do you know what aliens call it?" Jiwoo shook his head. "They call it a death world. Do you know why?" "Because it's dangerous?" "Because everything on Earth is trying to kill everything else all the time. Poisonous plants, dangerous animals, terrible storms, diseases, earthquakes, floods. Most alien species couldn't survive one day on Earth. But we live there just fine," Jiwoo said. "Exactly. Humans evolved to survive on a planet that kills weak things. That made us very good at surviving and very good at fighting when we have to." An older boy who had been listening asked, "So we're tougher than other aliens?" "Not tougher," Sujin replied. "More stubborn. When other species face a threat they can't handle, they run away or give up. When humans face a threat we can't handle, we figure out how to handle it anyway." "And when someone threatens human children?" Jiwoo asked. "Then we stop being nice and become what other aliens are really afraid of." That evening, long-range sensors detected the Vorthak fleet approaching the system. 5 massive harvester ships, each the size of a small city, accompanied by 24 escort vessels. Admiral Jang called a final briefing aboard the Indomitable. "The Vorthak will arrive in 4 hours," he announced to his ship captains. "They're coming to collect 200 human children for sale in their slave markets." The room full of officers went completely silent. Many of them were parents themselves. "The enemy outnumbers us in ships, but they expect no resistance. They've been attacking defenseless worlds for so long they've forgotten what it's like to face an opponent that fights back." He activated the tactical display. "We will let them approach the planet and begin their collection operations. When they're committed and can't retreat quickly, we attack." "Rules of engagement, sir?" asked Captain Park from the destroyer Swift Justice. Admiral Jang's answer was simple and final. "Any ship that threatens those children is a legitimate target. No quarter asked and none given. These are slavers and child traffickers. The galaxy will be a better place without them." 4 hours later, the Vorthak fleet arrived exactly on schedule. The lead ship was enormous and ugly, covered in dark metal and weapon spikes. It broadcast a message to the Kalari world in harsh, growling words. "This is Warlord Gakmor of the Vorthak Collective. We have come to collect our property. Have the human younglings prepared for transport immediately." Elder Veltar responded from the planet's surface. We have done as you commanded, Warlord Gakmor. The human children are ready." "Good. We will send shuttles down to collect them. Any interference will result in the execution of all prisoners." That was when Admiral Jang opened communications on all frequencies. "Attention Vorthak vessels. This is Fleet Admiral Minsuk Jang of the Earth Defense Forces. You are in violation of interstellar law regarding the trafficking of sentient beings. You have 10 minutes to surrender and release all human children in your possession." There was a moment of confused silence from the Vorthak fleet. Then Warlord Gakmor's ugly face appeared on all human ship screens. "Deathworlder scum," the alien snarled. "Your spawn will serve our markets well. You cannot threaten the mighty Vorthak Collective. We have taken younglings from 100 worlds and no one has ever stopped us." Admiral Jang's voice remained calm and cold. "You've never taken human children before. Your primitive fleet means nothing to us." Gakmor roared, "Surrender now, or we will execute every human youngling and add your crews to our cargo." "Warlord Gakmor," Admiral Jang said quietly, "you have just made the last mistake of your life." The Admiral cut the transmission and gave the order that ended the conversation. "All ships, weapons free. Show them why we're called Deathworlders." The battle began instantly. Human ships that had been hidden behind the planet and its moons suddenly appeared on all sides of the Vorthak fleet. The Vorthak had expected to face a helpless world, not a coordinated naval attack. The first salvo from the human fleet was devastating. The heavy cruisers Defiance and Retribution targeted the Vorthak flagship with everything they had. Plasma beams and missile salvos struck the massive ship from multiple directions, but the Vorthak were not helpless. Their ships were large and heavily armed, designed to intimidate and destroy resistance. They began firing back with weapons that could crack planets. The difference was in the fighting. The Vorthak were used to attacking ships that ran away or surrendered quickly. Human ships never retreated. When a destroyer took heavy damage, it kept fighting. When a frigate lost half its weapons, it rammed enemy ships. Captain Dong Ho watched the battle from the Terra's Pride, which was staying close to the planet to protect the evacuation shuttles if needed. He'd never seen anything like it. The Koreans are fighting like their own children are down there, he said to himself. They are, sir, Woo Bin replied from his station. The medical bay aboard the passenger liner Harmony had been turned into a children's ward. Dr. Haiwan Choi walked between the beds, checking on young patients who were finally safe after weeks of terror. The ship was on its way back to human space, carrying the rescued children home. Dr. Haiwan, when will we see our families? Asked Yunbi, Jiwoo's little sister. She was sitting up in bed, looking much healthier than she had on the Kalari world. Very soon, Haiwan replied with a smile. We sent messages ahead to let everyone know you're coming home. Your parents are probably already on their way to meet us. Not all the children would have families to return to. The attack on New Busan colony had been brutal, and some parents hadn't survived. But human communities across the galaxy had already volunteered to adopt the orphaned children. No human child would be alone. Jiwoo approached from another bed where he had been reading to some of the younger kids. At 12 years old, he had become a big brother to all of them during their time in captivity. Dr. Haiwan, some of the kids are asking about the bad aliens. Are they all gone now? Haiwan sat down so she could talk to Jiwoo at eye level. The ones who took you are gone, yes. But Jiwoo, there's something important you should know. Admiral Jang didn't just rescue you and then go home. What do you mean? He's making sure this never happens to anyone else's children. The boy looked confused, so Haiwan explained further. When we captured Warlord Gakmor, he told us about other places where the Vorthak keep slaves. Not just human children, but kids from many different species. Are we going to help them too? We already are. What Jiwoo didn't know, because he was just a child, was that Admiral Jang had started something much bigger than a simple rescue mission. The capture of Warlord Gakmor had revealed the locations of dozens of Vorthak slave markets and prison facilities across the galaxy. 3 days after the battle at the Kalari world, Admiral Jang had sent a message to every human military commander in known space. The message was simple. Operation Broken Chain is now active. All human fleets are authorized to attack and destroy Vorthak collective assets wherever found. Priority target: facilities holding children of any species. Captain Dong-ho Kim was back aboard the Terra's Pride, but now his research ship was part of a much larger fleet. Admiral Jang had asked him to help coordinate with non-human species who wanted to join the fight against the Vorthak. Captain, incoming message from the Kalari Council, Woo Bin Lee reported from his station. Elder Veltar appeared on the main screen, but he looked different than before. Instead of wearing the simple robes of a peaceful diplomat, he was dressed in what looked like ancient Kalari armor made of crystal and metal. Captain Kim, the Kalari Council has made a decision. We cannot fight as humans do, but we can help in other ways. We are sending medical ships and supply vessels to support your Operation Broken Chain. That's very generous, Elder Veltar, but you don't need to put yourselves at risk. The old Kalari's 4 eyes showed determination that Dong Ho had never seen before. Captain, for 3 weeks we were forced to watch human children suffer, while we could do nothing but give them food and water. Never again. The Kalari people may be pacifists, but we will not stand by while slavers harm the innocent. Similar messages came in from across the galaxy. The Altarian Republic offered intelligence about Vorthak operations in their space. The Crystal Singers of Vega provided their advanced scanning technology to help find hidden slave facilities. Even species that had never spoken to humans before sent messages of support. Sir, Sujin Park said from her station, I'm reading a message from the Zephyrian Empire. They're offering to let our fleets use their space stations as supply bases. Dong Ho was amazed. The Zephyrians have been neutral in galactic politics for 200 years. Apparently not anymore, Woo Bin replied. Their message says, any species that protects children with such determination deserves our support. The war against the Vorthak Collective lasted 6 months, but it wasn't really a war. It was more like an extermination. Human fleets, supported by dozens of allied species, swept through Vorthak space like an unstoppable storm. Every slave market was destroyed. Every prison ship was captured. Every Vorthak leader was either killed in battle or captured for trial. The collective, which had terrorized the galaxy for centuries, simply ceased to exist. But the most important moment came 3 months into the operation, when Admiral Zhang's fleet discovered a massive Vorthak prison complex hidden in an asteroid field. Inside were over 10,000 slaves from 40 different species, including 50 more human children who had been taken from other colonies. The rescue was broadcast live across the galaxy. Beings who had been slaves for years walked free for the first time. Children who thought they would never see their families again were reunited with parents who had given up hope. A reporter from Galactic News Network asked Admiral Zhang why humans had committed so many resources to fighting the Vorthak, when most of the slaves weren't even human. The Admiral's answer became famous across known space. Any species that harms children, human children, alien children, any children, has made an enemy of humanity. We will cross the void, face any danger, and pay any price to protect the innocent. That's not cruelty or warmongering. That's what it means to be human. Back aboard the Harmony, Jiwoo was watching the news coverage with some of the other rescued children. They were only a few days away from reaching human space now. Look, said Taemin, pointing at the screen. They're showing the Kalari world. The news showed the construction of a large space station in orbit around the Kalari homeworld. The reporter explained that it was called New Busan Memorial Station, built to honor the children who had been taken and to serve as a coordination center for anti-slavery operations. They named it after our colony, whispered Eunbi. Jiwoo nodded. So people will remember what happened and make sure it never happens again. Dr. Haiwon came over to check on them. How are you feeling about going home? Scared, Jiwoo admitted. Happy but scared. Everything will be different now. Different how? Well, our colony is gone, and we're different too. We've seen things that kids shouldn't have to see. Haiwon sat down with the group of children. Jiwoo, you're right that you've all been through something terrible. But you know what I've learned from watching you kids these past weeks? What? You took care of each other. When the little ones were scared, you older kids helped them. When someone was sick, you made sure they got help. When everyone was losing hope, you kept believing that the grown-ups would come for you. But we were just doing what we had to do, Taemin said. Exactly, and that's the most human thing of all. When things get really bad, humans don't just survive. We take care of each other. A few days later, the Harmony arrived at Earth's primary space station. The docking bay was crowded with families waiting for their children. News crews from across human space were there to record the homecoming. Jiwoo stood at the viewing port, looking down at Earth through the station's windows. It was a blue and white marble suspended in space. Beautiful and somehow peaceful looking despite being what aliens called a death world. It's pretty, Eunbi said, standing beside him. Yeah, it is. Jiwoo, do you think the bad aliens were right about us being dangerous? The 12-year-old boy thought about everything that had happened. The human fleets that had crossed the galaxy to save them, the species from all over known space that had helped, the complete destruction of an empire that had hurt children. Maybe we are dangerous, he said finally, but only to people who hurt kids. As the children prepared to leave the ship and reunite with their families, Captain Dong-ho received a final message from Admiral Zhang. Captain Kim, thank you for your service during this operation. The Terra's Pride and her crew showed the best of human values: courage, compassion, and an absolute refusal to abandon those in need. Just doing our job, Admiral, Dong-ho replied. No, Captain. You did something much more important than a job. You reminded the galaxy why humanity deserves respect, not just fear. Later, as Dong-ho watched the news coverage of the children's homecoming, he saw Jiwoo being interviewed by a reporter. What do you want people to know about what happened to you? The reporter asked. Jiwoo thought for a moment, then answered with the wisdom of a child who had seen both the worst and best that the galaxy had to offer. I want them to know that human grown-ups never give up on kids. Ever. Even if we're scared, even if the bad guys seem too strong, even if it takes a long time, human adults will always come for their children. The reporter asked one more question. What happens now? Jiwoo smiled. The first time many people had seen him really smile since his rescue. Now we go home, and we help make sure no other kids have to be as scared as we were. As the news broadcast ended, the camera showed New Busan Memorial Station orbiting the Kalari world. Ships from dozens of species were docked there, all working together to hunt down the last remnants of the slave trade. And at the center of it all was a simple message, broadcast on all frequencies in every known language. The children of the galaxy are under the protection of humanity. Harm them at your own peril. The Vorthak had learned too late that there are some lines that should never be crossed.